Hi guys. We started this PowerPoint right before chaos ensued. And so I'm just going to kind of restart it. I'm going to go quickly through the things we've already covered, just so that you can kind of refresh and have a background on that information. I did post this entire PowerPoint on Schoology as well, so if I go too fast, you can find the whole PowerPoint there. You can also pause this video at any time and rewind if needed. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about challenges to the Roman Republic. If we remember, Rome has gotten started, it's starting to expand. And so as it grows, it's going to face some problem. So part of what made Rome so successful is going to be these legions. A legion is a group of 6,000 men. They are divided into smaller groups like cohorts and connubium and a variety of other things. So just so you know, a legion is the largest group you can have. So all male citizens who own land are required to serve. They are going to be incredibly well trained, and for the most part, conquered people are going to be fairly well treated. There are going to be some exceptions. Additionally, if you serve in the military for, I think, 25 years or so, you will be granted land if you do not already have some. So, like, if you own land, you have to serve. If you do not own land, it is volunteer basis. And so a lot of people did volunteer just to kind of build their careers and with this hope of having some land. Okay? So we have the Punic Wars, and oh, it is animating here. Cool. The first Punic War is going to be over the little island of Sicily, okay, which is that island that Italy is kicking. All right, and in the Punic Wars, they're always going to be between Rome and Carthage. This map here is kind of illustrating how it happens. Carthage is going to own everything in orange, Rome in green. You can kind of see how the map begins to change with each of the wars, all right? And so for this animation to work for you, you will have to download this PowerPoint. I don't think it's going to play in the window viewer on Schoology for you. All right, so basically, First Punic War is who's going to control the Mediterranean, who is going to have dominance. We're fighting over Sicily because Sicily is this breadbasket in the Mediterranean. It's incredibly wealthy in terms of like how much food it can grow. So half of Sicily asks Carthage for help, half of Sicily asks Rome for help, and they're both going to get involved with this. And so if you see these little you have something called the casus belli. It's a little star that pops up. It's the cause of war or where the war is starting. All right. So Carthage is well known for its incredibly strong navy, and like we talked about before, Rome does this great thing where it takes somebody's ideas that they like and they make them better. So Rome is going to build its own navy to fight the Carthaginians. However, Carthage is still going to have incredibly fast ships. So we talked about how the Romans built these giant like arms with metal hooks on the front of their ships that when they got close enough, they'd just drop it and it would hook the ship and pull them in so the Carthaginians couldn't escape. Eventually what's going to happen is Rome is going to win. They are going to gain Sicily, therefore control of part of the Mediterranean. This also increases their wealth. So they're doing pretty well, all right? Which Second Punic War takes place afterwards, obviously. And it's going to involve a man named Hannibal, all right? Hannibal is a Carthaginian stationed in Spain. It is going to be a little bit of a revenge plot. Hannibal's dad, Hamicular, basically told him, remember the Romans are evil before he went off and was killed in battle. So There you go. Hannibal, again, is a general from Carthage. However, he is stationed in Spain. So he is going to go through Spain and Gaul and then through the Alps into Italy. So Gaul is just the Roman name for France. It has to do with a tribe of people who were living there at the time. Hannibal is going to be really, really great. He's going to terrorize the Roman countryside. He's going to strike fear into the hearts of the Romans, all that good stuff. Okay. And so eventually the Romans have enough. And they are going to appoint somebody by the name of Scipio to deal with this problem. And Scipio is going to end up chasing Hannibal out of Italy into Africa, and not entirely to Carthage. They flee outside of Carthage to a place called Zama. Now, part of what made Hannibal so successful are going to be his elephants. We talked about the battle elephants. And if you remember, the Romans dealt with the elephants by using pigs. So basically, they dressed pigs up in pots and pans and then sent them off onto the battlefield. The loud noise was enough to scare the elephants because if you recall, elephants are not especially trustworthy in battle. They are easy to spook. And as a result, they can turn and trample the wrong people, which is what happened when the Romans released the pigs. So Scipio and crew essentially made these people or these weapons irrelevant afterwards, which is why Scipio was partly successful in his destruction of Zama. Okay, so here you are of a little map. This red line indicates where Hannibal is, right? And kind of his route. All of the darker stars are going to indicate victories for Hannibal. The red stars are victories for Rome. Notice that some of these stars do not fit within the time frame. So all of the ones around Sicily, like Ecnomus and Mylae, those happened during the First Punic War, okay? The rest of these are going to be throughout the course of the second. And so notice the second one starts probably around 219 and it's going to end in 202. So it does take 17 years for this war to finally conclude. That's a long time. And if you also notice in Italy, some of these dates are a little odd. That's because Hannibal isn't just going to move down through Italy. He has enough time to zigzag and go down and then come back up before Scipio was finally sent to deal with it. All right, so Third Punic War, after Hannibal is defeated, the Romans and the Carthaginians have an uneasy truce. I think everybody's just glad the war is over, but the Romans are still not satisfied that the Carthaginians are around. Yes, we've been peaceful for 50 years, but there are still people who remember the Second Punic War. They're still really scared of something like that happening. Carthage is our arch enemy. We have to be done with them. Okay, so famous censor named Cato kept insisting that Carthago delenda est, Carthage must be destroyed. It has to be. They cannot be left to stand. And they do. The Romans do attack Carthage. There's some kind of fake, I don't really know if it's fake or if it's made up or trumped up charges essentially that Carthage is doing something it's not supposed to be, but I don't really know if there's the evidence for it. Okay, so Rome is going to attack Carthage. They're going to absolutely annihilate the city. They're going to burn it to the ground. They salt the fields so nothing can grow in it. They kill most of the men and boys and enslave the remaining people. So Carthage is no more. And with the conclusion of the Third Punic War, Rome is in charge of the entire Mediterranean. So there are really no other cities or places that will stand in the way of Rome within that area. Right? However, Rome's expansion does cause some problems within the Republic. It is going to start bringing up these issues, okay? So provinces are going to complain that the officials are corrupt. So provinces are going to be towns, cities, areas in these places Rome has conquered. So Sicily would have a province, and there is going to be a governor appointed of this province who is a Roman. However, they are complaining that they're corrupt. They're stealing their money. They're abusing power. The usual gambit of things. Okay. Wealthy Romans are starting to take land from small farmers. So they're kind of, it's think of like big corporations versus small business. That's kind of what's happening here, is that the wealthy Romans want more land so that they can have a more productive farm, and they're starting to take it over from the small, like, this is my livelihood, I need this farm, right? And then slaves from Carthage, from wherever, are being used on these big farms, which are called latifundia. So they are being used to continue this process. However, these small, poor farmers are being pushed into the cities because they no longer have work, and any paid workers that were being used on the farm are also out of work. So now they're all moving into the cities, and the populations within the cities are rapidly increasing. Okay, so there's a general dissatisfaction. We have this gap between the rich and the poor widens. So remember, you have the patricians and the plebs. So this gap between the patricians and the plebs is really starting to widen. It's really becoming noticeable. And eventually the plebs are going to revolt. There is a pretty significant revolt. And on top of that, the slaves take this as a time to revolt as well. Famously, they are led by a man named Spartacus, of about 70,000 slaves. And I'll post a video about Spartacus for you so you can kind of learn a little more about who he was and who he is. Just so you know, Caesar is going to be a part of the army. Julius Caesar is going to be a part of the army that is sent to deal with Spartacus. So Julius Caesar has begun to make an appearance on the scene, okay? There are going to be some reform attempts here among the poor. Famously, these two brothers, they're called the Gracchi brothers. Tiberius and is the first or the oldest. He wants to give land to the poor to kind of ease some of this tension, right? Well, yeah, the Senate may or there is no may not. The Senate definitely ordered his death and was killed by assassins in a pretty public spot. Like, people watched him get stabbed to death, including his brother. Or maybe it was bludgeoned. Maybe he was beaten to death. Either way, people watched it happen. Trying to make a point, his brother Gaius is going to take over and try to push for reforms as well. And, well, he suffers the same fate as his brother. He definitely ends up dead as well. So, not really successful, but they do kind of spur a movement. I will also post videos on the Gracchi brothers for you as well. Both Spartacus and the brothers will be under Thursday's folder for you. Okay. Now we also have a problem. So we also have a problem with the army changing as well. We talked about how it was very successful in the start. Well, now we're equipping soldiers and we're getting some mercenaries. Veterans are getting land, and now it's becoming more of a profession instead of like an honor. And part of what's happening is generals and other groups are paying these mercenaries or paying veteran soldiers. And so soldiers end up switching loyalties to the general instead of the republic. So if I was a general of an army and I'm paying all of you to help me, you're going to be more loyal to me than, let's say, Overton as a whole, because I'm the one who's supporting you, not necessarily Overton. This is going to cause some problems. So here is something for us to think about, and there'll be a little question posted for you. Soldiers are now more loyal to the government, the generals than the government. So what do we think is going to happen next? How do we think this is going to play out? All right, so that is the end of this particular section. You should complete the Punic War sheet in your Republic packet and post that for me on Schoology, please. I will create the link for you to upload that. There are already videos available for you on how to do that. This question I will have for you on Thursday, so if you want to go ahead and think about that, that is all I've got for today. And if you have any questions, Schoology, group me, email, or during, not Zoom, conference office hours, whichever that will be. All right, so please let me know if you have any questions, and have a good day.